All right, so I'm scrolling through Instagram and I saw that comicbookmovie.com posed this question. They asked, who should be the leader of the next Avengers? And they gave us 6 potential choices. They gave us Sam Wilson as Captain America. They gave us Doctor Strange. They gave us Yelena, Bucky, Thor, and Reed Richards. So we're going to have this conversation real quick because I think there's actually 2 answers to this question. And I believe it all depends on what direction the MCU is going to go after Secret Wars. So I've said it before. I personally think that they are going to, and that they should reboot the MCU after Secret Wars. I think that when you're looking at it, I think there's more evidence to show that they're wanting to throw everything in the kitchen sink into this movie, and then at the end of it, be able to still wipe the slate clean and say, okay, we're going to start over. And whether that they keep a few of those characters around or not, I don't know. But I do think that they're heading to a stronger reboot than just kind of a soft reboot. But with all that being said, let's just take the question under the assumption that they're not going to do that. That they're going to continue the MCU as is after Secret Wars and go into what we already know is going to be kind of their mutant saga. So when you look at the 6 answers, there are 6 potential answers that they gave us. Who could be the leader of the MCU? I thought it would be fun to kind of break it down for a minute and talk about these answers on who we think they could potentially have as leader of the MCU. So first we're going to start with Sam Wilson, Captain America. The answer is an absolute no. No, he can't be the leader of the MCU. And it's not because Anthony Mackie can't carry a movie, because I think he's a phenomenal actor. I think he's great as Falcon. I don't care for what they've done to the Captain America character. But at the end of the day, he's not a superhero. He didn't take the super soldier serum, and I know that, look, Batman's my all-time favorite superhero, so don't let me tell you that you have to have superpowers to be a superhero. But in a world where we have the MCU taking on these intergalactical threats, taking on people like Thanos, taking on people, like potentially, obviously Doctor Doom coming, taking on people across the multiverse who could potentially be these huge, villains for us. I don't see Sam Wilson as Captain America leading the Avengers to be able to go battle Thanos. Like, I don't see Sam Wilson being able to stand in front of Thanos and his entire army by himself, strap the shield up on his arm to be able to push together the big cut open on his arm and stand there with an I can do it all day attitude to be able to fight Thanos and his army all alone. I just don't see it. And I think that, when you look at the Captain America Brave New World movie, there were clearly issues with that movie. I don't think Anthony Mackie was one of the issues. I thought he had a great performance as Sam Wilson. And at the end of the day, I just don't think that he's a good fit to be able to lead the Avengers. So I think he's out. I don't think it can be Doctor Strange. Because one, Doctor Strange kind of admits in the movies that he's not one of the Avengers. But two, Doctor Strange is more of your multiversal hero. Like, he's going to, similar to Captain Marvel, which I'm glad they didn't put her on this list either, because I don't think she could be the leader of the Avengers. Doctor Strange is having to deal with things well outside of the world of or outside of the Earth that we are on the MCU. And although, yes, like, Steve Rogers goes to space, he goes to fight Thanos and all that kind of stuff. I get all that. At the end of the day, one of the things that the MCU needs to get back to is giving us a grounded character in the MCU who we can be attached to and hold on to and make a personal connection to in the MCU. They had 2 originally with Iron Man and Captain America. Those were both 2 characters grounded in the MCU who we could attach ourselves to. And this goes back again to the Sam argument. Although, yes, Iron Man was the one at the end of Endgame to be able to get the stone, snap his fingers, I am Iron Man. The person who led the Avengers was Steve Rogers. And when you go back to not being able to have those superpowers, I think that kind of shows you, and we needed to have Iron Man have his suit of armor, with only one possibility, possible outcome from Doctor Strange's point of view to be able to, win that battle against Thanos. I think you have to have someone, again, grounded into our world. And I don't know if Doctor Strange is that person because, again, the multiversal element, I think that he is a great character. He's a great, contributor to, the team. I just don't think he has it to be able to lead the MCU. So then that brings us to Yelena and Bucky. And I think both of them, similar to some of the answers that I gave already for the reason why I don't think Sam Wilson could do it, I think Yelena is one of the most important characters moving forward in the MCU, at least over the next few movies, because I think she's the one that we're the most emotionally attached to right now as far as that grounded character goes. But she doesn't have the ability to lead the Avengers. She barely had the ability to be able to lead the Thunderbolts. And I think when you look at Bucky doesn't want to be the leader of the Avengers. He doesn't want that responsibility. And although he's starting to come into his own as a hero and get past some of his personal trauma, at the end of the day, you can't have someone like Bucky who has spent his entire life, whether he's brainwashed or not, assassinating people, all of a sudden now be the leader of the Avengers. You just can't have it. So I think with those two, I think those are clear-cut no's. I think those are probably the two that are on the bottom of the barrel the most. And then when you look from a financial point of view outside of the MCU, the Thunderbolts movie was a good movie. It just didn't make a lot of money. And I think that you can't have these B-list characters come in and be the leader of the Avengers. I just don't think it's going to work. So that really brings us to two real potential answers to this question. And that's Thor and Reed Richards. And I got to tell you, I think that when you're looking at, who could potentially be the leader of the Avengers, I think that you need someone who is more than just muscle. And I think Reed Richards gives you that over Thor. I think you need someone who, can show some true leadership and the audience would want to follow if given that opportunity. And I think Reed over Thor gives us that. I think you saw that in the Fantastic Four movie. I think that one of the things that really worked for Fantastic Four was Reed's portrayal as a father and kind of the realization that he's more than just a smart mind, right? He's more than just the superpowers. He's more than just the world's answer to every question. He's a dad, right? And I think that brings a lot of humanity to him that I don't think we get with Thor. And also similar to the same answer I gave with Doctor Strange, Thor has more intergalactic elements to be able to worry about, right? He has way more going on as the former Guardian of Asgard. I think that he's not going to be grounded in this earth enough to be able to give us the leader of the Avengers that we need. And I also think that you need someone who can take the MCU and move it into its next phase. And if you're not going to reboot the MCU and you're not going to start over and start from scratch, I don't know if going back to Thor and leading the Avengers is the route you go. I think if you're going to commit to new characters, I think you've got to commit to Reed Richards being the leader for those new characters, pushing the MCU forward. So I think out of the 6 possible answers that that comicbook.com gave us, Reed Richards, I think it's clear the best option out of those 6 to be able to lead the Avengers. But I did tell you that I thought there were 2 answers to this question depending on the route that the MCU wants to go. And so my answer to this question wasn't on the list of 6 characters. My answer to this question is Steve Rogers as Captain America. You need to bring back Steve Rogers. Now, like I said, if you're going to push the MCU forward with Thor, I don't think it works because I don't think that you go back to someone. But I think Steve Rogers is that clear exception. I think Steve Rogers is the one who can lead the MCU. And I think that if you're going to take anything out of the multiverse, bring Steve Rogers back to the MCU to lead the MCU moving forward. I think you got to.